Order in the court. The regular meeting of the Planning Commission is called to order. We will begin with a moment of silent prayer and mediation, and I would like to begin this meeting in memory of Miss Carla Haywood, a teacher who taught at Nogales High School for many years, who just recently passed away. And I'll always remember her kindness and her passion to teach others and teach students like myself to become future leaders. And she did that every day. So in her honor, we will start this meeting and begin prayer and mediation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Heng.
Please join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Paulina, can you please call a roll call?
Good evening, Chair and fellow commissioners. Commissioner Heng.
here.
Commissioner Lewis.
Here.
Commissioner Macera.
Here.
Vice Chair Williams.
Present.
And Chair Gutierrez.
Here. Okay, and we have the approval of minutes. Tonight we have minutes from the regular meeting on August 8, 2023 of the regular meeting. Does anyone have any amendments to these minutes? Seeing none, they are approved as amended or as is. Would anyone like, at this time we'll begin oral communications. Would anyone in the audience like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll begin tonight with our public hearing. Tonight we have one public hearing. Who will present the staff report?
Chair Gutierrez, Planning Manager Joanne Burns will provide the presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, members of the Planning Commission. The item before you tonight is for a precise plan number 20-02 for the development of the site, and which includes a tree removal permit for the removal of 3 significant trees on site. The project site is a 0.98 acre property located on Walnut Creek Parkway between Vincent Avenue and Glendora Avenue. The site is currently developed with a parking lot that is occasionally used for event parking. The site was formerly utilized by Wick's Furniture Store, which has since been developed into the Colony at the Lakes mixed-use development. The project is located within the general urban zone, which is the same zoning as the properties adjacent to the site. Again, abutting the site is the Colony and the Chick-fil-A park and the Pacific Western Bank parking area across the street on the north. The car wash to the west. And on the east and south side is an office building and the Bank of the West Bank. Here is the site plan for the site. The site has approximately 215 feet of street frontage along Walnut Creek Parkway. The building is highlighted in gray. It is a boot shape or J-shaped in configuration, which was designed to conform to the shape of the lot. Vehicular ingress and egress to the subterranean parking level would be provided by a proposed driveway on the east side, right along here, where the arrow is of the project site. Pedestrian access to the building would be provided on the main lobby entrance, where the orange arrow is along the Walnut Creek Parkway frontage. And access to the building is also provided along the front to those units fronting on the first floor, fronting Walnut Creek Parkway. The yellow arrows pointing within the interior of the building represents the entrance points to the building, to the property's common areas along the first floor. The site plan also shows the proposed landscaped areas highlighted in green along the east, in south, and also along the north frontage. The common open space will be provided via the courtyard and also a pool area towards the rear of the site. The project is designed to comply with all code standards, including setbacks. Here is the front elevation and cross-section for the site. The building is proposed to be 38 feet in height as measured from lowest grade to the roof of the third floor, 48 feet from grade to the top of the stair tower, and 41 feet 6 inches from the grade to the top of the parapet wall. The downtown plan allows architectural elements such as tower features and parapets to be exempted from the maximum height calculation. The maximum height allowed in the downtown plan from grade to the top of a roof of any building is 40 feet. The architectural style of this three-story building is modern. The proposed modern architectural style is well represented in the detailing and building materials used, which includes stucco walls, equitone fiber cement board, phenolic wood panels, aluminum composite panels, and perforated mesh metal for the balcony railings and the parking garage gate. The exterior of the building will include a mixture of white, grayish tan, and brown color schemes. The building design utilizes wall planes that offset balconies and vertical elements in the form of columns and accent materials to break the massing and promote articulation, especially along the frontage. Here are the west and east elevations for the project. And here is the project rendering. On the projector is the floor plan for the garage. The subterranean parking garage would have 24 feet to 26 feet 8-inch wide driveway aisles leading to the vehicle parking spaces, and also a bicycle storage area in green to the north, right along here. The garage would also contain a utility room, highlighted in red, and storage rooms in blue. The stairs and elevator are located to the northwest in purple. Alternate stairs are located on the south, on the northeast, and also on the southwest portion of the site. The parking area will include 84 parking spaces. 82 is required for the project based on a number of units and bedrooms per each of those units. The 84 parking spaces would include 9 electric vehicle parking spaces along the back wall, 3 handicap parking spaces, and 72 standard parking spaces. 26 of those 72 parking spaces are tandem, and these tandem parking spaces are required to be assigned to the same unit. Although the downtown plan and code does not require separate guest parking spaces for multifamily residential, staff does have concerns that street parking, regarding guest parking, because street parking is not available near the project site. To address the parking concerns, staff included conditions of approval in the draft resolution requiring the applicant to notify each tenant verbally and in writing within the lease agreement that parking may be scarce, and parking assignment is limited to 2 parking spaces for 2-bedroom units and 1 parking space for 1-bedroom unit, and or additional lease parking spaces depending on availability. The apartment manager would be required to reserve at least 10 parking spaces for guest parking, which would include 3 electric vehicle spaces and 1 handicap space and 6 standard spaces. Per this condition, signage will be required prohibiting overnight parking on guest parking spaces and limiting the time frame to 4 hours. Here is the project floor plan for the first floor portion. Centrally located on the first floor are the leasing office, conference room, utility closet and restrooms, the gym, and also the mail room. Southeast is an enclosed trash area, and in blue I've highlighted the 13 one-bedroom units, and in green the 2 two-bedroom units on the first floor. Here are the floor plans. The second floor and the third floor has the same floor plan configuration. So in blue, the 14 one-bedroom units, and in green are the 4 two-bedroom units. Again, each unit would have at least 100 square feet of private open space provided by balconies and or on the first floor patio areas. Here's a chart that shows a summary of how the project complies with the downtown plan development standards. The project complies with the density, height, parking, open space, and setback standards. As mentioned earlier, although there are several trees on site, only 3 of those trees are considered significant trees and require a tree removal permit. That is the 2 Queensland Pittosporum trees in the public right-of-way, right in front of the site, and the sycamore tree at the very rear of the project site. Due to the number of trees that are going to be removed on the site and recognizing the community benefits of the trees, a condition of approval has been included in the draft precise plan resolution requiring the installation of 6 24-inch box-sized trees on site and the relocation or replacement of the city trees. The relocation and replacement of the city trees would be based on the city arborist's assessment of the location and to the specification of the city engineer and public services director. Arts in public places, the project would be required to comply with the city's Arts in Public Places program. They would have to provide public art that equals to 0.5% of the construction valuation on site, or they can pay the in lieu fee. So that would be used to provide for the city to provide public art in public right-of-way areas or elsewhere. Development impact fees. The developer will be required to pay development impact fees based on 51 units equaling $165,597. Environmental review was conducted on the project, and it was determined that it is CEQA exempt under Section 15183, projects consistent with the community plan or zoning, because the project is consistent with the development and density standards and policies in the West Covina General Plan and also Downtown Plan and Code, where in December 2016, the city certified an EIR for both the West Covina General Plan and Downtown Plan and Code. The city's environmental consultant, Terry Hayes and Associates, prepared an air quality study which determined that it is below South Coast Air Quality Management District's significant regional thresholds. And noise assessment was also conducted and determined that construction noise will periodically exceed allowable noise levels, but only during the daytime periods. A traffic study was conducted and determined that the project would result in 344 daily trips. However, only 21 to 26 of those daily trips would occur during the AM and PM peak periods, which is less than the 50 daily trips threshold during peak periods to require a full traffic analysis. The project is screened out from the vehicle miles traveled because it is located in transit priority area, since it is within half a mile from a major transit stop, which is on Vincent Avenue, right in front of Chase. Construction. We are requiring as a condition of approval that a construction management plan is submitted to the city traffic engineer. With this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution 23-6130, which approves the precise plan. If the Planning Commission has any questions, staff is available to answer.
Thank you for the staff report. Does any member of the Planning Commission have any questions for staff? I will now open public hearing and have, we'll hear testimony, and we'll hear testimony from the applicant at this time, Sarah Witters. All right, then.
But my name is Sarah Magaña Withers, and thank you very much for having us tonight. It's been a long haul. I'm the Director of Development in charge of entitlements for the company, and we own and operate over 6 million square feet throughout California. We've actually developed and had a few projects here in the city. And so we're very proud to be community stakeholders of West Covina. Your staff has been incredible. They're not easy. I want you to know that because we've gone through this several times, but we're very, very proud of the project that we have here before you. We think it's going to really, add to the city, especially with the facade. It's very high quality. We're investing a lot of money, especially right now that, with the economic conditions of the country, that, in order to be able to get a loan or anything, it's almost impossible. So this is a priority project for us. We will probably have to do it, with cash on hand because we can't, finance it at this time. But we know that it's going to be a success. And we want to thank, your Morales and Van and everybody that has helped us. And thank you very much for having us. And if you have any questions, I'll be here. And that's it. I do have one question regarding the guest parking. I don't know if I can ask that now or...
Yeah, let me just, does any members of the Planning Commission have any questions for the applicant? And then we could get her. Okay, and then we could go over your Paulini or Joanne.
My question is, in the condition of approval, it indicates, obviously, we do have excess parking by 2. The guest parking is not required, but it does indicate 10 that are required. So I'd like to know how do you want us to account for that?
So the parking calculation is based on 1.5 per one bedroom unit and 2 parking spaces for 2 bedroom units. So typically, you would assign 1 parking space for the 1 bedroom units and 2 parking spaces for the 2 bedroom units. And then what's left over, 10 would be for guest parking, and then the other remainder would be you can lease it or assign it to whichever unit you want.
Well, since this is a for rent product, we will just assign it to probably our tenants. And then we're going to have on-site management, so that's a little bit easier to control. These are not for sale. These are all for rent. So as we're getting people to come in, our aging population, we do foresee that it's probably going to be for young families, couples, single, or also older adults that are transitioning, like myself, that become empty nesters and now their houses are too big. So you look for a product like this. Sometimes you don't even need a car or, So we'll make allowances for that. Thank you. And I'm here.
Did have a question. I noticed that staff did point out, because this is going to be rental housing, that it was going to provide for different economic segments in our community. Do you have a ballpark figure as to how much per month would be charged for the 1 bedroom and the 2 bedroom?
Not as of yet. So this is something that we are going. if somebody, I just want to make the disclosure. If somebody comes in and gives us a ridiculous number that we can't turn down, that's the only way we would think about selling the product. That's not where we're at. Okay, we plan to build it and hold on to it.
Okay.
And it's a family-owned company. This is not something that we're looking to, come in, build it like a lot of developers because they're, counting every penny. So our main concern is to make sure that the units are occupied and that if there's a need there, that we're able to provide it. We're not affordable housing developers, but that's not, what we do. But we're very conscientious. We don't want any empty units. So whatever the going rate is and whatever the demand is, especially like on the one-bedroom units, we'll be able to be a't bit more, aggressive on providing more affordability.
I did notice with the two-bedroom unit that it appears that they're actually what I would consider bedroom suites on either end. Is there or has your company in the past, when you have a layout like that, agreed to allow perhaps up to maybe 4 people?
It depends. Okay. We don't want, we know that there is a huge need for housing, but we also don't want to create a overcrowded situation or substandard that, we're investing a lot of money here. So if you have a couple that is coming in and maybe they, we're maybe a child or maybe 2 adults that are older, that's what we're finding. A lot of older adults, because our population is aging, is that, I don't want to be by myself. So then I live with my friend or, and then that's what we see.
Yeah, I was just thinking about college students.
Yes, and we could do that if there's a need, but obviously we want to make sure that we can maintain the property. And the way that we're going to do it is, having a manager that's going to be handling that. Yeah, we haven't gotten that far. We're getting there. Like I mentioned before, we're not. It's the overall longevity of the project. That's what we look for. It's not something that we're counting every penny. Obviously, we're very frugal. We have to be because if not, we can't build it. But, if it makes sense that we have a situation that's coming in, like you mentioned, if they're college students, they're not rowdy, bugging everybody, then, no problem. So we would look at something like that. It just depends on the situation.
Does anyone else have questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Lewis.
I have a couple questions. What considerations did you guys put into the architectural style that you've proposed here? I mean, I'm personally a fan of the modern architectural style, but my biggest concern about this particular area is that this is our downtown designated area. And I would very much like to see some continuity. And this being adjacent to something that is sort of Spanish style, quasi-modern, I don't see that. And I'm trying to figure out, in my mind if there's a way that you guys could potentially do something that makes this more more blended transition of some way, because this is modern right next to Spanish style effectively. And I'll be very blunt with you. I think the biggest problem in the city of West Covina is that we have in the past been very deferential to developers to the point where we have a completely hodgepodge way of thinking about things. And I think it's terrible. It's not conducive to a city that has some grand plan to it. So that's my biggest concern about this project, and I just want to get your input as to whether or not you guys would be amenable to doing some changes such that this looks more similar to the large consequential building, the colonies that's already there, because your guys' building is a consequential building, and I have no problem with it. As a matter of fact, I quite like the development. I think the concern is that if we decide to allow this, then what? We're going to allow a Tudor style building, columns next. I mean, it's just, that's my biggest concern. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I understand. And first, I want to commend you on the specific plan. It was very well written. Your staff and, your governing bodies did a great job. I work in a lot of different communities where we have projects, and that really provides for a good roadmap. We did have several different, when I said that they weren't easy, your staff, is because we did have several reiterations of the plans to try to come up with that. I think, your staff will agree that we're very amenable because we're not your typical developer. This is something that we're going to own and operate. We take a lot of pride. And even, if it's something that we have to wait to cash flow, whatever, we will do that because we're thinking long term. This is not something that we're thinking about investors. But we can take a look at that. But we did take that into consideration when we did this design. And we felt that it was, it really fit the fabric of the area, and that it also pulled some of the elements. We can work on something like that as long as it's not like a complete redesign, because this is probably like the maybe third or fourth time we've done like completely everything. So and we want to get it done in my lifetime.
Totally understand that, and I would say from my standpoint, I think the footprint is fine. I don't think there's any issues with that. I think my personal concern is that we have continuity. I'll say this: Commissioner Williams has a history. She used to work for the city of Covina in their planning department, and the city of Covina has a very particular downtown. Okay, I don't want a very hodgepodge downtown in my hometown. And that's my concern. That's the direction that this would tend to go if we're not being very conscientious of that. And unfortunately, as I told you, I love modern. My thing is that we already have something that is not modern. So what do we do, right?
Yeah. Well, just rest assured, like all documents should be, your specific plan is a living, breathing document. Absolutely. We did follow that, and we followed the guidelines. We're very proud of this because we feel like if there's other areas that we've seen, I just saw one today when I was driving by, but I thought, wow, our project, like the stoops and everything is so well planned out, it's actually going to have some type of substance. It's not going to look like it's just, you're falling in. And so, but we can look at that, and we will. We want to make sure that, we want to have a successful project that everybody's really proud of, that you can point to. And that's a catalyst, maybe for the car wash and, some of the other businesses that they think, oh, wow, it's, we're getting more customers, or, let's spruce it up. But we could take a look at something like that, as long as it doesn't, we would hope that it doesn't change the entire thing, because we can't really start all over again. And now we're never going to do anything.
Completely understand that. That's a very reasonable.
Well, we'll take a look at it. Our architect's fantastic, super seasoned. He's the director actually of his firm, and it's 175 architects. He's he loves that, so, but.
And then I had one other question that I wanted to ask you about, and that's the charging stations. Look, I'm not going to say I believe that this is actually going to happen, but California law says that we are not going to sell gasoline vehicles in 2035. Again, I'm not going to pretend that that's likely to happen, but let's just humor me for a second. I think that having only 9 charging stations is woefully short if we're going to pretend that that is actually true. We have to be much more conscientious about that, and realistically, it probably should be every space, or at least every tenant space.
You know, and I agree with you. We're not there yet.
Right.
And I just had this conversation because my daughter's a new planner with the city of LA. And so now I get to talk to her about all this fun stuff. But we were talking about that. Unfortunately, our transportation system and what's happening, we're not there yet. Obviously, if we're going to have no gas vehicles, we're going to have to, at the time, be able to provide that. Because if not, we're going to have empty units. We're in a society, or it's either that or we're going to have trains and buses or flying things that are going to take us places, right? If not, how are they going to be able to, you know, they're not going to just park their cars. So we'll come up to that. You know, we follow those trends, like with alternative fuels and things like that. Actually, the patriarch of our company, he invented a alternative energy machine that I helped him send to the Department of Energy. They found merit in the technology, but it wasn't commercially feasible until we started building something. Unfortunately, he got sick. But so we're really at the forefront of that. We see a lot of alternative fuels that are coming down the pipeline. There's so much that's happening. To build for every single one right now, we may be missing the boat. Maybe that is not going to be like the preferred method. It could be something else. Maybe it's a pill or a chip or God knows, you know. I mean, what is it?
A battery.
Exactly. You know, you get in your delay or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely understand. And yes, as a child growing up, promises were made in Back to the Future too, and they have not come true. So
yeah, well, no, we'll be on board. You know, we would love to see that.
So, okay. Well, yeah, again, I just wanted to, I was more thinking about it from the perspective of maybe you don't have that now, but whatever you can potentially do. And I think this is something that we'll probably need to discuss later in terms of our development code, but in terms of making sure that you have the infrastructure in place such that putting that in after the fact is not going to be a massive undertaking.
Not, because that's what people are doing in their homes right now.
Right.
Everywhere you look. The only thing is that what we have found in most of our developments, and we have from Beverly Hills and West Hollywood and all these areas where you do have a lot of alternative, energy, they don't get used that often, and then they get vandalized, and then people steal the stations. Mm-hmm. So, we want to be careful with that. Like 9 here, we hope that everybody uses it. Mm-hmm. But, not everybody has a... Yeah. We still have I have a hybrid and I have a regular because I can't count on that I'm, not going to run out of juice before I get to my destination,
Understood.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for the conversation. It's not often that you get to have that dialogue, but we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Don't leave yet. We have more questions. Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. Look at that.
Just to piggyback on that question, in regards to the electric vehicle charging, now is it possible, because I know Edison has a lot of rebates too for new developments, and I know the state also has a dedicated website where the state pays for installation of EV chargers. But is it possible to give the tenant the option if you put the wiring, if the wiring was in place, just like new homes, the wiring's in place and it's covered up. But if the tenant, if the new homeowner, in this case, a new renter, wants to install their own charger, then they could get approval from the ownership or management, and then if they want to cover the costs to install it, is that something that's possible? No.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is make sure you have, I guess, the capability to have that extra, wiring and that the grid can hold. The grid is capable of allowing that extra installation to occur.
Yeah, we would like that.
So that's a way to save money because now you don't have to, I mean, obviously you have to do the 7, but if you were to expand it to 5 more, but that 5 will be optional. I mean, those, depending on what you have left over after you meet the certain city requirements on the parking mandates and stuff like that, you're going to have extra spaces open. And whatever that amount is, that's an opportunity for you guys to technically make money because now you could do pre-wiring for those spots, and those who have electric EV vehicles could pay extra to have that dedicated spot and then pay to have the equipment installed.
You know, the EV, they're not that expensive. There's a cost, right? But it's not that complicated to put it in.
Yeah.
So that's why later, like with us, if we have I hope we have that demand, right? That's fantastic. But, you know, we wouldn't have a problem putting it in. The other great thing also is that just recently in May, when we were at the shopping center convention, we actually were having dialogues with a private company that they're providing those types of services where they even lease the space. That's something that maybe like the cities also would like to look at because you have these huge parking lots that aren't being used like at night. Imagine if you had something like that where they're going to pay you to provide that service for your residents. And then you have a very walkable downtown where people, you know, can start getting out of their cars, walk home, leave their car charging, etc. I mean, this is just, you know, fantasy of mine. But and then the city can make some revenue for your parking lots or cleanup or maintenance, whatever.
Sorry. So do you think the developer you represent will be open to if there was a condition added that said that 3 additional stalls should be pre-wired only, which gives that opportunity?
Only because of the vandalism that we have. I have pictures on my phone of what they do to. I was just at a shopping center today on Western and Sepulveda in Torrance. Very nice neighborhood, single-family homes, etc. They destroyed both of the stations that we have. So now we're going to have to go back and put them back in. But I think 9 is great. I think it's probably, I don't.
9.
I think for right now, you know, for something that's 12 years ahead, we don't need to.
Yeah.
And
it's 9, like I mentioned before, it's a lot. We're lucky if we're going to get like maybe 3. I mean, unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. And, you know, especially if people are driving far, etc., you know, they can. One of the guys in my office, he can't even drive to San Diego because he only gets 100 miles on his car, and he has an electric car, and I feel horrible for him. He did not realize that that's.
I know the automakers are investing millions of dollars in making new EV vehicles, and I know they're competing strongly with Tesla. So that's why you have the new Cadillac ESV coming out that's fully electric. You have Toyota, who's investing also in the grid and making their own charging stations. So, but yeah, and then also. I didn't see a light plan. There's no light plan in here? Because the last thing we want is have that area continue to be dark.
Oh, outside. No. We will definitely have, you know, proper lighting and cameras, etc. Mm-hmm. Safety is first.
So you're committing to cameras?
Yes. And,
okay,
you know,
great.
We've had, as long as they don't break the bank, you know, like.
Yep.
They're not going to be filming movies there and stuff, but yeah.
No, because I would think the building code for each one of the entrances.
And we would put them in.
I know that your elevation drawings don't show the exterior lighting fixtures, and I think that's part of why he's asking.
Whatever you see here is because we can actually build. So like the smaller things like that, you know, we need to plan it out and where it's going to go and connect. When we put it on paper so that, you know, you can actually build it.
Yeah, because what we're seeing here in West Covina is that we have, we're making developers put lights out in the front, but it's a timer on it, so it turns on and off automatically. But the problem is that these homeowners are shutting them off. So at certain times, it's pure dark now. So the light plan is not being upkept in the city, and so I think it's important that if the tenant is responsible for the light, that there's some solid solution that leaves that light on at night. So especially for our public safety officials who need to respond if they need to and find the addressee and so forth.
Well, we will have a manager, and we're going to have perimeter lighting. That's a given. So it'll
Great.
be controlled by our house meter.
And then also there was no do you have is this going to be like luxury apartments, like interior or?
Yes, we don't plan to skimp. It's not going to be
okay.
gold encrusted, toilets or things like that. But
Yeah, the high-end modern look.
top
Yeah.
of the line, we want to make sure that they last, that we're not going to be replacing them every, few months. I mean, you buy cheap and they break. So it'll be.
So you guys will be providing the washing machines and dryers?
No, we don't provide that. That's going to be independent, but we will provide quality, cabinets, the flooring, all the finishes for
So they would
the
need to supply
unit.
their own stove? Their appliances?
We do have we haven't gotten that far here, but we do have units where we've provided that. And also washing machines and dryer. Like sometimes if we can get them at a reduced cost and they're not crazy. I have one in my office right now that's sitting there waiting because we were able to get them. We want people to be happy because we don't want people we don't want a revolving door. So if we
Correct.
could provide that, we'll do it. It's a plus. Imagine on the flyer we say, hey, washer and dryer in every unit. It's full, appliances. And be like, oh, this is great,
Especially since a lot of apartments, since they are more individually occupied, you don't have the laundry room that normally sometime an apartment building would have. And that kind of reduces the additional cost for someone physically moving in. And so I guess the way some cities look at it, because you have a certain number of units that you're going to be constructing, that perhaps you would get a better deal anyway on ordering the refrigerators and the washer and dryer, things of that nature.
Because
Especially the stove.
West Covina also, you're more, this is extremely desirable. I'm sure you already know. Somebody goes to buy a house here, there's like 10, 15 offers, right? The same thing with residential. Everybody wants to live here. So we would have to meet those standards to make sure that we're competitive.
And do you plan on having a security guard on site?
No, that's why we have a manager. There'll be a black belt.
The colony said the same thing, but then they end up having to hire a security guard.
I'm kidding. Sorry. If it was me, yeah. I'm only a blue belt,
Okay, this is
I do have a question, though, to add on to the looks and keeping the area, the downtown area, look somewhat similar or what have you. We do have a really nice units that are the colonies, and I'm just looking at the building heights. Currently, it seems like you're pretty much maxing out the building heights. That's why you get the modern look without the roof and what have you. But the height is at 40 feet. However, your building up right now it's 38 or so. So I guess the question is, if we were to do some Mediterranean, which require, it needs a roof and what have you, it needs more heights. So as a commissioners here, is there anything we can help to make it so that the building can potentially look?
There's different ways to achieve that.
Yes.
Without having to impact that, right?
Okay.
We have a project in Vista, for example, where, it still has that Mediterranean Santa Barbara look. We actually took inspiration from Santa Barbara, and so it has different elements. It's not everything, tile roof,
Correct.
things like that.
Right.
But there are elements that you can. I'm not an architect. I've seen plenty of these, but I would leave it to the architect to, be able to be creative.
Right, you can actually, even just looking at the picture, you can see that there's things that can be, the brick can be transferred for stone, or the wrought iron can be more Mediterranean, but there are, it doesn't have to go full on with arches and everything, but there's some changes that can be made.
Right. I guess the other questions that I have was regarding the front setback. Apparently, this particular project has a lot of street frontage, and looking from the look of it and the landscaping plan, it seems like there's no frontage setback. However, the landscapings are there, so whose land does that belong to? The city, or
Well,
is that the parkway?
obviously these are, this is they're conceptual. So we will, have a more finished, more plush, et cetera.
I understand that. I completely understand that this is conceptual, but I just wanted to understand that if there's zero setback right now for the frontage, so
We do have some setback front, because if you see in the colored elevations,
Where's the ramp?
because if you're looking at the summary of the project, it said proposed setback is for the frontage is 0. And the side, which is on the west side of it, facing the ocean side, is 10 feet. But facing the east side, which is only 1 foot 4 inches. So I just wanted to see, I understand that this is conceptual with,
Chair, if I may. So the zero setback is that typically setback is taken at the closest point. It does not necessarily mean that the whole entire building is at zero setback. There is some areas that are allocated for landscaping planters along the front, and there is also proposed to have landscaping and trees planted in the public right of way.
if you look at page number 5, you can see like some of the,
so for page number 5, at all the landscaping section, would that be all in the parkway, which is belong to the city?
no, it would be in the parkway and then also on our area. Like if you see here, these areas here.
So, parkway landscaping will be determined to the specification of the city engineer. So in the public services director. So it's not shown on the plans, but they will be required to install landscaping in the parkway. But there is some landscaping that they're planning on installing along the frontage in 4 planter areas.
So it appears like the building itself consists all the way up to the property line for the front. However, majority of it will be stairs going up to the correct elevations.
That's
not necessarily landscape, like a traditional building that we have. You have the frontage, 20, 30 feet. And then, that's consisting of landscaping area. But this particular building, it appears that it's zero setback from the front, and then the rest is basically the building. Part of the buildings to be able to get into the building with the different setbacks in the stairs.
And the main entrance, I don't see is there an ADA ramp there too?
It will be ADA compliant.
So where are you going to put that at if that's not in there?
Also, if you can pull up, Joanne, the plans for I would believe it's the east setback, which is only 1 foot 4 inches. I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing an elevation for that particular size.
Right here at the bottom?
Yes. So it's basically, is that the building or just a ramp driving down to the?
So this is the ramp driving to the subterranean park
garage.
This is part of the building
here.
For the parking garage.
On the opposite side.
There's a walkway right here.
Staff won't let us build.
There's a ramp that goes down around this way. In this area, it looks like it.
I guess my concern is this. I mean, we're maxing out the setback as much as we can for this particular project it's actually to the zero line. And this is a downtown area, so really there's no landscaping whatsoever. Besides the little pottery or the little in between the stairways and what have you that you're doing some landscaping. And since this is the downtown area, it's a breathing, living project, is there any way that we can maybe push up one floor and you give us more landscaping? Possibly among the commissioners that, I mean, just to sum it, I don't know.
First of all, and then we also first of all, the height requirement, but second of all, we would not be able to build it. And then we would have to redesign. But what I can assure you, I mean, obviously this is, it has the stoop idea. So it's part of your specific plan. Maybe that's something that needs to be revisited within your document. What we can do is that there's different landscape features that we could do also that are, drought tolerant and that we're being water wise, et cetera, where you can have maybe a creeping vine, et cetera, and it can still look flush and give you that look. So that's something that we consider. We can, we'll take it into consideration.
Chair, if I may respond to that. So the downtown plan was created with the preference that a zero setback be provided. And to note that the colony was constructed prior to the downtown plan and code and is much higher at 5 stories than the what's allowed now by the downtown plan, which is 40 feet tall. An example of, I guess, the zero setback can be seen through the development of the assisted living facility on down the street.
Merrill Gardens.
Merrill Gardens.
If I could add to, Chair. So the intent of the downtown plan was to make it walkable, and that's why there's that zero setback. So the proposed design does meet the downtown plan code, and that was, like I said, really the intent was to make it walkable, make it like a downtown feel, and that's why that setback is zero.
Metropolitan feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say also what Commissioner Lewis said. I think this is obviously it's the downtown area, and so maybe this is something that you have to talk to your architect about. But I think the color scheme should be more. I mean, something to match the downtown area, or it's a downtown. So I think gray may be too flat for the area, too dead for the area.
The printing does it justice. It's kind of hard, like when you get it on paper, and then even if it was photographic paper, it's still going to be a little off.
I love the brick, but I've seen designs like this in downtown LA, in the LA area. So I know how it looks beautiful, but it's still a downtown area that should have a different color scheme or something. But it's my opinion. Okay, does anyone else have any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And if everything goes well, we'll be at the ribbon cutting one day. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone in favor of the project who would like to speak? Okay. Yeah, they'll give you a card.
They're right there.
If you could just state your name for the record.
Sure. Mario Silbovaro, District 3. In favor of the project because, that area something needs to happen with that area. I'm looking at, just at the map and everything. I feel it's more downtown adjacent than downtown because the contrast is going to be with the green and gray building, which is the Bank of the West. Opposite from the frontage is a bunch of eucalyptus trees, I guess, that would block the colony. Outside of that, you may be looking at it from, what would it be? Glendora and West Covina Parkway, where the old flower shop is at. There's a lot of trees in there. I know there's going to be a lot of tree removal. But the only contrast that I see to the colony would be just the frontage. Other than that, it's hidden all the way around. And I was thinking, color scheme, maybe matching up something a little more brownish, but I see that Bank of the West there that's green and gray. So it's, like you say, it's kind of hodgepodgey, but I also feel that this unit, it looks very functional. Great use of space. Yeah. But I feel it's going to be more hidden than anything outside of the frontage, and the frontage would be somebody driving by. So that's my 2 cents on that. I definitely would like to see something like this in the area. Looks very good. Agree with the lighting. Definitely want to look at not having any dark spaces, because regardless of this area being utilized, Bank of the West, the unit that's next to that, have those dark parking areas and RV parking in the back at the moment. So that's all there. But yeah, my 2 cents.
Great, thank you. And does anyone else have any, those in favor in the audience? And then now we'll hear testimony for those opposed. Anyone opposed? Seeing none. Okay. At this time, we'll close the public hearing and open discussion by the commission. I will now open commission discussions. Commissioner Lewis.
Sure. As I indicated, I think that this project is a good use of that space and will certainly be a welcome addition. I just as I indicated in my questions to the applicant's representative, my biggest concern is that we need to make sure that the area that is designated downtown, whether it be exactly along the Glendora corridor or not, adheres to some level of continuity. And unfortunately, I think we just have a history in this city of letting things go and not having any kind of continuity in terms of how things are developed. And frankly, if we want to have a downtown and any sort of credibility on that, I think we need to make sure that we really do focus on making downtown as cohesive as possible. I think that's my biggest concern about this. If this was another area of the city where we already have where it's not designated as the downtown area, I would be less concerned about that. And like I said, my perspective is I'm a fan of modern style architecture. However, we don't have that there as of yet, and my guess is it's probably going to be 100 years before that's something that's realistically possible in that area, which is one of the reasons why I think the footprint of the building is fine. It's just we need to be cognizant of the fact that all of the buildings that are along along Vincent are one-story buildings. So you're going to see this. This will have prominence. It will be a prominent building in that area, and frankly, the juxtaposition between the modern and the sort of quasi-Spanish style that we have is something that I would like to see softened in some way, shape, or form. And I would certainly support the project, but I'd like to see it come back with those, with the feasibility of that. And realistically, if we can get that done, I'm fully in support, and I'd vote in favor of it at that point in time.
Vice Chair Williams. Oh my God.
No. Actually, the layout of the units are quite nice. And I could see where younger people will probably be gravitating to this type of layout. It doesn't really suggest that it's set up for young families. I know in West Hollywood, an apartment where my daughter lives, she lives on the 5th floor. And right on the roof, they actually have a hot tub and they have area amenities that the apartment itself puts together for the people because they're young business people. And I don't know what the plans may be for the roof, but I did see that you have the swimming pool and, you know.
We'll reopen public hearing to have the applicant come back and go ahead. Come.
We do have, if you look at, what page is that? You could look at the site plan in here. 5. On the ground floor, we do have open space.
Right.
And then you have, we're very proud of this because this is super, super complicated. The topography is horrible. I mean, it's a diamond, so that it's taken us a long time, but we're very proud of the use of space. And if you look at A21, let me see. It's 1, 2.
A1.0.
It's A2.1. So you could see the courtyard area here. You have the pool back here, the pool deck. And what's really nice about this is that you have it separate. So that way, it doesn't, if there's kids in the pool or, you don't hear all the splashing, etc. But it's still, in an area that is very accessible. And then you have your courtyard area here, which is great because it gets people out of their homes and be able to interact with each other. We've been locked up for so long with the pandemic that it'll be nice for people and families to look out the window. You have somebody out there, places, we foresee like places to sit, etc. We have, a gym. The leasing office is very close by in case people need anything, and also for security so that you make sure nobody, is doing something they're not supposed to or that doesn't belong there.
You have like a area for animals to use the restroom at?
That's something that, we did talk about that.
Yeah.
So, you have areas in the perimeter, obviously because we do have maintenance, et cetera. And, depending on the makeup of the residents, you're going to have different needs. And that's what we have found. Like you have one plan, but then all of a sudden you have this very eclectic mix of people, and you don't want to be so rigid that you create a dog area and then, you don't have any pets. So that's something that having the manager on site, those are the things that we can create and basically.
Yeah, I see there's room by the pool area. So
yes.
And I know in Azusa, they have those luxury apartments over there off, I think it was the Azusa and Foothill, I think. And they have a area, turf area where animals could use the restroom and so forth. There's a lot of people with pets these days. Okay.
No.
Any more questions from the commission for the applicant? No? Okay, I will thank you again. And now we'll close public hearing again at 8:10 p.m.
Point Point of order, real quick. I just want to make sure that to the extent that any resident does want to speak, I think they should have the opportunity to provide any rebuttal testimony.
So before we close public hearing again, based upon what the applicant just said, would anyone in the public want to speak?
May I say one more thing, please? The other thing also, I think, well, as mentioned, we did follow your specific plan. And that's in regards to the architecture, to the layout, to all the components of the project. We are very willing to work on those elements of design that you would like to see incorporated. I just hope that we can move forward, because every delay, and especially with everything going on with our economy, it's a huge hit for us. We need to be able to program it so that we can do something. So that we can build. Okay.
Thank you. And so, if there's no objections from the commission,
Actually, I'd like to add one last. I guess perhaps maybe you can, or staff can help answer. Since this is a rental apartment and the complex is huge and the balcony area has a lot of street frontage, and I was wondering how can we, I guess, prevent in the futures for residents to use the balcony area as a storage, so that since this building is nice and tall that everyone can see, is there a section that has that portion so that
you can add a condition of approval requiring the applicant and or owner or manager to require tenants not to store, to prohibit tenants from storing items on the balcony, with the exception of patio furniture.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll now close public hearing at 8:13 p.m. and then we'll move on back to commission comments, and we'll move on to Commissioner Becerra. Any comments?
Well, no, I just want to actually thank you for taking the time. It's evident that your company has put a lot of work into this, and like you said, that the use of the space, the components, everything, you've all put in a lot of thought and detail into this. So, and again, as Commissioner Lewis had said, we welcome this. We need that in that space, and it would be a great addition to the city. The only thing I would have to say is I would agree with perhaps just some small changes. I don't think that it has to be drastic. But when I looked at this, first when I saw it, it looked like a school or a hospital or clinic. So it may be a little warmer.
And move on to Commissioner Ng.
I think the project is great overall in terms of the usage of the space in Riverview, but I wish that we could have more setback for the frontage. Despite the fact that this is the downtown area, we do need some landscaping besides the city's land. And the frontage, this particular project has quite a lot of frontage, and I am very concerned regarding the balcony using as a storage area. So hopefully we can put some conditions in there to prevent that from happening. But project-wise, it's wonderful to have a project. However, if we, like you were saying, or we were saying, that it is a living, breathing project, and if there are things that we can do, because it seems like if the height is the limitations, perhaps the commissioners, we can work with your company to see perhaps we can go up a little bit higher so that we can have some of the setback and some of the things that we were talking about. But overall, the project is really nice. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And so with that said, I would like to make a motion to approve precise plan number 20-02, projects consistent with a community plan, general plan, or zoning, and with some conditions of approval. The conditions I have in mind is that there should be adequate permanent lighting in the outside perimeter area. Since the applicant has agreed or mentioned it, there should be some sort of CCTV put in place. To go on some of the comments that Commissioner Hang made, that there should be no storage on the patio with the exception of patio furniture. And then putting into mind what Commissioner Becerra and Commissioner Lewis statements made, which was I remember Commissioner Lewis could say it a little better, but I mean the color scheme or cosmetics or something to bring out downtown West Covina. And if any of my colleagues like to add to that conditions.
So I just have a question, because it seems that we would need to motion to request a continuance to allow the applicant to make modifications and then direct staff to include the three items that you included: the outside lighting, CCTV, no storage on the patio, for consideration at the next earliest meeting, hopefully as soon as possible. I think it really is just a question of how quickly can an architect come back with the slight modifications on that. That would be, I think, a question that we may want to inquire of the applicant.
Yeah, since there's a color or cosmetic issue, I do agree with that.
Chair, if I may?
Yes.
The architectural elements can be conditioned if they're specific. Like, for example, if the objective is to look more like the colony and have that similar architectural style, then the condition can be included to modify the color scheme so that it's more neutral and earth tone colors, more brownish tan colors, rather than white and gray. Change the phenolic wood panels to more of the stone veneer similar to the colony. The stucco would be smooth tile. They incorporate a sloped roof element that has a tile roof similar to that of the colony, and the aluminum panels would be smooth stucco with decorative tile detailing, and the balcony railings would be, rather than the mesh metal, it would be decorative wrought iron, and they can increase the height by no more than 2 feet to incorporate an arced element at the top similar to that of the colony. Those are items that can be incorporated as a condition of approval, and you can also condition it so that if you wanted to see the final design, it can be conditioned that it go back to the Planning Commission on consent, so that if a hearing would not necessarily be required if the Planning Commission is okay with it, or you can also leave it up to the Community Development Director.
I don't think it should look like the colony exactly. I think this is a modern look, but I think a different color scheme or something to bring it out more, as is downtown West Covina. I think the idea is downtown West Covina, but not necessarily match the colony. Because
I think the applicant already mentioned that she had something in mind, something they had done at a previous location. I know. Do you want to open?
No.
Hearing?
No, I mean, we can take a look at those and continue to the next meeting. I mean, obviously, we can't really discuss and talk about it when we can't.
Yeah,
Really
so I'm going to amend my motion with some of the conditions I mentioned, but also in regards to the color scheme, I think we're not asking you to match the colony. We're not telling you to do a whole new architectural design. We're just saying, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the color scheme. I think it's something to match the downtown West Covina, and it can even be the idea of a downtown, like if you were to build it in the middle of downtown LA, kind of something like that. But it's just the idea to bring the building, make it stand out.
If I could, it's a little bit general. So you're saying to make it look like downtown LA or downtown West Covina, and so those are very different things.
Well, what I'm saying is, for example, Meritage Homes, they have a color scheme that's like a bluish, and another one has a different color scheme. I think solid, just like a basic, the color currently is just too plain. It's just like Commissioner Bracero said, it looked like
you want them to work
looks like
on
a high
the
school
color
to
scheme.
me. Or middle school.
But I don't know.
I will be very specific in what I have in mind, and I think that we need to have some sort of either roof line or Spanish style corners or something like that make their hat or makes it such that there is some continuity, but I'm perfectly fine with seeing some modern architectural aspects to this. It's just it needs to there needs. I don't want to make the building sort of pigeonholed into one specific style, so long as it has sort of a natural blended continuity, if that makes sense. Because again, I'm certainly not crazy about the architectural style that was chosen for the colonies, but I think that it's what we have, and so we need to understand that whatever we do needs to bear in mind the neighborhood that it's in already, and there's nothing we can do to change that, right? So that's what I'm getting at, and I hope that is specific enough for a request.
The features of
Correct.
the calling, not necessarily the color scheme, but some of the features.
The color scheme, again, more earth tones, I think, is what warmer is what we're talking about, but also some architectural similarities that create continuity. I think that's what I would envision for this.
Okay.
And so
I think the applicant maybe has
and so
an idea. I don't know.
what's the appropriate thing to do now? Can we open public hearing again?
You can continue it.
You can continue.
Yeah.
If you want to make a motion to continue. There are several conditions you've asked for. I since I'm talking, I do want to jump in and just take this to remind the audience, the public, and the commission, Housing Accountability Act. And then you guys are very familiar with this, but I know it has to keep being reminded because the state has taken a lot of your authority away. You cannot deny based on subjective design standards. Now, we're having a conversation, and that's healthy and good, and the applicant has indicated a willingness to work on that, but I did just want to point that out. And you also have a limit of 5 public hearings. So at this point, a motion to continue the public hearing would be appropriate.
Okay, great. So
But if we could get
yeah, so I'm gonna
specific
recall.
so that the applicant has all of the information so that when they come back that they can present.
Yeah, so
something that
after this motion, we'll call out. I'll reopen public hearing, and we could so she could have an understanding what the commission has in mind.
I don't think that was what was envisioned by council. I think what we need to do is we need to have a motion, and I'll make the motion that we continue this hearing. One time, directing staff to work with the schedule of the applicant so that they can come back as expeditiously as possible with a request that the architectural features include some of the roof cornering style of the colonies, which is immediately adjacent, and have more earth tone colors, but not fundamentally change the design so that there is continuity in the downtown area, as well as requesting that staff put together an updated proposed precise plan for approval that includes the conditions of outside lighting, CCTV, and the no storage on the patio. I believe that was what Commissioner Hang was discussing.
I guess what I was saying when I was asking about the lighting, the building department, the building code, they're going to require them to have exterior lighting. It's just that the elevation drawings that were presented to us don't show where the lighting fixtures and where they're going to go throughout. And is that what you guys are looking for to understand?
I mean, I would love to see that, but at the same time, I think having adequate permanent light plan would be beneficial. But
if I remember, I think this was an item that was brought up at another housing development that the lighting plan will be part of the building department's permit submittals.
But I think what he was talking.
It should be permanent because that development we're referring to has an option to shut it off and it becomes pure dark. So the homeowner could shut it off, the light outside. So
I think our commission, Brian Gutierrez is talking about is mainly exterior lighting, not necessarily interior.
Exterior.
And also building codes requires you to set certain lightings only, and I believe this is more lighting for the exterior portion, whether it's surrounding the frontage of the street area, so that we can have, traditionally when we have a setback or a front setback, they can put actually lamp posts, but now because it's at the zero setback, there's really no lamp.
They can easily put lighting, which I'm sure you've seen at hotels and stuff. When you have large planners, they'll have lighting fixtures actually in those areas. But just for safety reasons, for fire and police, they're going to have exterior lighting fixtures anyway. And that's why I was trying to understand if you guys would like to see where they're proposing.
We're not asking for the traditional lighting that they normally require when you go through the building department. It's more of the exterior portion and a little bit more lighting for the street area when you're walking by, not necessarily in the inside of the building or what have you.
Are you talking about street lights then?
just see a plan.
Brian Gutierrez, you want more lighting?
It's the exterior, so
Street lights or
property
lights?
It's the property lights on the exterior. Some of the new developments have an option where the homeowner gets to shut off that exterior light, which makes it pure dark. That's my concern.
So I think we can perhaps include a condition that indicates that the exterior lighting of the building needs to be controlled by the management of the building and on from dusk till dawn or something along those lines, rather than getting into the minutia of the lighting plan, which is something that, again, the building department could do. I think,
as long as
I can amend my motion to include that if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, and then the only other comment I'll have is that this is a modern design. So if you add Spanish tiles to it, you take away the fundamental design, and so I don't know if you're open to this, Commissioner, so amended that they come back with a design that is it's modern, so allow them to do a modern look, but somehow come back with a design that matches the general downtown area.
Well, I think what she suggested was a Santa Barbara look.
Yeah, so
you don't necessarily have to change a whole lot on the roof.
I think we can certainly give the applicant some discretion in terms of what they bring back, but I think I think to the extent that that we have some continuity with major buildings that are in existence down there. The reality is that you're not going to achieve continuity overnight or anything like that. So we have to be cognizant of that, and we should try to work to achieve that in our downtown area as other downtowns have done. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that fundamentally. I think that's something we should be trying to strive for here. So I think with
I support a general, yeah, like you said, yeah.
yeah,
General, yeah.
So what I would say is I'll amend my motion solely as to the aspect of the removing the lighting plan, but having the dusk till dawn controlled by the management for the exterior lighting, so that we don't have the public safety issue.
And
That's my motion.
And I'll second that. So
Can I just
can
get
you-
clarification
yeah.
on the motion? So it's to provide more earthy tones, have the architect come back with some options for architectural features or roofing cornering to be consistent specifically with the colony at the lakes, no other surrounding buildings. And then to provide the exterior lighting to be controlled by the management and the hours between dusk till dawn. Provide some kind of security system, camera system for the facility.
yeah, just have a CCTV plan.
And then to prohibit storage of in the patios along the street.
But
Patio furniture.
Except for,
No hanging of,
but specifically matching the colony, or specifically matching
Some features.
some features.
Yep.
I said specifically the colonies as that building, not any of the other buildings.
Some features, so it doesn't have to be specifically every detail of it.
Correct. Yes, that is accurate.
So they can match the bank a little bit. They can match the store across the street a little bit.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're only the colony at the lakes.
Only the colony.
Only the colony?
Specifically
Then we take away the design
a
then.
little Mediterranean flavor, a little something. Like she said, Santa
Earth
Barbara.
tone, Santa Barbara.
They're experts in their field. I have no doubt that they would have, she already has
think it's
something
a
in mind
problem.
already.
Okay.
Can we hear from the applicant if that's going to be an issue financially?
Oh, this is a continuing meeting.
I know I'm asking, or we could turn.
So we'll get back to the applicant.
Next
Yeah,
week.
we'll make the request to the applicant. We'll bring it back.
Maybe she doesn't want to do that.
as soon as possible and consider it at that point.
And then we'll bring it back at the next possible meeting. We'll work with the applicant. Okay, so we
So
have.
I'll second that. And
Can we get a date certain on that, or
yeah, when's the next commission meeting?
The next Planning Commission meeting is on September 26th.
We
When will
would
you
need to
need
work
to
with
work
the
by?
applicant.
And the meeting after that is October 10th. For the 26th, we would need to have the plans by the 18th. And I would like to poll the applicant if that would be possible, or would you prefer the 10th?
So for the 20th.
Okay, so for just
Or a date
September
certain,
26th.
The 26th.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Hing,
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Becerra,
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams,
Aye.
and Chair Gutierrez.
Aye.
Motion passes by vote.
And I'll just say again, I would like to thank the developers for investing in the city of West Covina and building housing projects for those most in need. There's a housing shortage. At the same time, if I second this motion, but if there's something that the partnership at your company doesn't want to do or doesn't foresee to do, then again, you have the opportunity to appeal the decision that this commission makes to the city council. So, great. And then, so at this time, this action. Oh, actually, so this action will be continued at the next meeting on September 26th. Non-hearing items. Joanne, will you please explain the next item on the agenda?
Okay, the next item on the agenda is just designed to provide the Planning Commission with information that the draft development code has been posted on the city's agenda and has been made available to the public. We are providing the information to the Planning Commission mainly because it's several pages long, and to give the Planning Commission time to review the material prior to the October 10th, 2023 hearing that we're anticipating and that it's tentatively scheduled for. There is no report or decision that the Planning Commission would have to take at the moment.
Great, thank you, Joanne. Now we'll move on to commission reports, comments, and miscellaneous items. Would any of the commissioners like to report or comment on an item? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Community Development Director's report. Paulina, do you have any items to report?
Microphone. Good evening. Yes, there's a couple upcoming events. We have District 4 community meeting held by Councilman Oli Cantos this Saturday, 8 a.m. To 10 p.m. at Woodgrove Park. All the information for the community meeting is available online, but it is Saturday, September 16th at 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. We also have this Saturday the San Gabriel Valley NAACP's 59th anniversary celebration at
Allied.
at Allied at 10 a.m. Thank you. Next Saturday we have Teta Truck event that will be held here at City Hall Saturday, September 23rd at 11 a.m. It's going to be a family event, and we encourage everyone to come. The following Thursday, September 28th, we'll be having the Centennial State of the City, and everyone's invited. Ticket sales are available at this time, and it'll be held at the Sportsplex starting at 5:30 p.m. Following that event, that Saturday, September 30th, we have the first annual West Covina Moon Festival. We're going to have a lot of vendors, a lot of performers, with the Bruno's Mars tribute band performing that evening. Festivities start at 10 a.m. and it's going to be at along Glendora Avenue.
Great, thank you. And is there any city council actions to report, Paulina?
Yes, at the September 5th City Council meeting, the Council adopted ordinance number 2515, adopting the Code Amendment number 23-2, which is the sale of beer and wine at service stations.
Great. Since there's no further business to consider at this meeting is adjourned in memory of Ms. Carla Hayward at 8:39 p.m. Pacific time.